Returning home for the Lunar New Year, all because I warned my nephew Timmy to be careful with fire, he seized the moment I was asleep, shoving a lit firecracker into my ear. The terrifying explosion tore through my eardrum. My left ear was diagnosed with permanent deafness. I erupted in a furious outburst, cursing him as a wicked, spoiled child. To my disbelief, my brother, Lucas, and his wife, Flora, not only failed to discipline their son but turned their venom on me. "He was just a child playing around," they sneered. "Besides, don't you still have one good ear?" While I was still reeling from my injury, they even plotted to sell me to a local thug. Given a second chance at life, I looked at Timmy, clutching the firecracker, and said, "Your parents prefer fireworks more, Timmy. They love them with both ears." As the firecracker exploded right at my feet, seeing Timmy's provocative grin, I knew I had been reborn. In my previous life, fearing a disaster, I had warned Timmy not to set off firecrackers near the woodpile. He harbored a grudge. While I slept, he not only jammed a lit firecracker into my ear but also pressed a pillow tightly over my head. My left ear was rendered permanently deaf. He was a born devil. His parents, Lucas and Flora, were even worse. I can still vividly recall the searing pain in my ear, while Timmy stood beside me, laughing a chilling, provocative laugh. Unable to bear it, I tried to teach him a lesson, only to be slapped by Lucas, sending me sprawling to the ground. Flora stood akimbo, spitting curses at me. "What does a child know? He was just playing. Besides, you only damaged one ear, don't you still have the other to hear with?" When I threatened to call the police, my adoptive mother, Alina, resorted to threatening suicide. "My grandson is my very life. Lyra, you are an unfilial daughter. If you dare call the police and anything happens to my precious grandson, your mother and I will die right before your eyes. Let the whole village curse you." To eliminate any future trouble, the entire family sold me to a thug from another village for 50,000 yuan. I struggled, raging, but my resistance only brought down brutal beatings from that monster. As I died, my eyes remained wide open, watching Alina, Arthur, Lucas, and Flora gleefully counting their money, celebrating their twisted family reunion. A nameless fire erupted within my soul. Facing Timmy's sinister grin, I felt no anger, only a cold resolve. I pulled out a bag of candies and approached him. "Timmy, you're so clever with those firecrackers. Here, a candy for being so good." His beady eyes fixated on the bag. I slung my arm around his shoulder, a sweet smile masking my true intent. "Your parents love firecrackers even more, Timmy. They especially love them with both ears. Go put on a show for your mom and dad. If you do, I'll give you the whole bag of candy." I dangled the bag in front of him. Timmy wiped a streak of snot from his nose, snatched the firecracker, and toddled excitedly towards Lucas and Flora's room. I called him back, put a finger to my lips, signaling silence. "SHHH, keep it quiet, we need to surprise them, don't we?" He clutched the firecracker, a glint of cunning in his small eyes. With everything set, I glanced at the nearby woodpile, where a faint plume of white smoke was steadily growing thicker. That was Timmy's masterpiece from moments ago. In my previous life, I had been the one to discover it, frantically scooping water to put out the smoke, warning him not to play in such a dangerous spot. He had thrown a tantrum, crying and accusing me of bullying him. Alina, to console him, had grabbed a stick from the woodpile and mercilessly beat me, screaming, "How dare you bully my darling grandson? I'll beat this wretched girl to death." Flora, awakened by the commotion, had joined in. "Lyra, who do you think you are? Do you think a few years in the big city turned a dirt chicken into a phoenix? I spit on you. Who knows what dirty business you were doing? Who are you to speak? My son is the sole heir of the Lai family. This is my son's house. It's only natural for him to ride on your head and relieve himself." I tried to retort, but Lucas kicked me to the ground. Flora wouldn't let up. Neighbors gathered, drawn by the spectacle. Her curses grew filthier, even fabricating indecent stories about me. Alina stood by, silent. Realizing it was useless to explain, I retreated to my room. My thoughts were dragged back to the present. The white smoke from the woodpile grew thicker still. Behind it, neat rows of diesel barrels sat beside a tractor. I dusted my hands. "Right," I thought, "this is their house. Why should I interfere?" As I turned to leave, I saw Timmy heading towards Lucas and Flora's room, only to stop, looking at me with pleading eyes. Following his gaze, I realized the door latch was too high, he couldn't reach it. I walked over, intending to help him open the door. The moment I pushed it open, a chill ran down my spine. Right, all the door latches in the house were at the same height, so how had Timmy managed to open my door in the past life? There was only one explanation. In my previous life, his act of deafening me wasn't merely malicious mischief, it was instigated by Flora. As I pushed open Luca's and Flora's door, Timmy slipped inside. I brushed my hands together. Everything would be repaid tenfold. With a thrilling anticipation for the unfolding drama, I put on an extra coat, tucked all my valuables into my bag, and went out for a stroll. When I returned, the Lai family home was utter chaos, thick white smoke billowing everywhere. The family's only tractor was engulfed in flames. Eleanor was wailing, rolling on the ground, her face blackened with soot. "Oh heavens, what terrible karma have I brought upon myself?" she cried. She pointed at a kind neighbor who had just helped put out the fire, not thanking them but cursing instead. "It must be your family, jealous that we bought a new tractor, secretly setting our shed on fire." Eleanor was infamous throughout the village for her shrewish and irrational temper. The neighbor falsely accused was furious. The crowd grew larger. Arthur, humiliated, stormed over, grabbed Eleanor, who was still on the ground, and slapped her hard. "How could you watch the house like this, woman? My newly bought tractor is gone. I'll sell you off to get my money back." Eleanor was stunned by the blow, stammering, her eyes darting to me as I arrived, as if seeing a savior. She quickly clung to Arthur. "Don't be angry, dear. Lyra has money." Then, like a madwoman, she lunged at me, punching me repeatedly. "It must be you, you jinx. Where did you run off to, shirking your duties, you useless daughter? If you hadn't been so lazy and careless with the house, how would the tractor shed have caught fire? Why didn't you just die outside? You will pay for this tractor or get out of this house." I watched Eleanor frantically searching for a scapegoat and shoved her away. She stumbled and fell to the ground. She was always good at this trick. When I was little, she used to go gambling. Lucas would hang out with bad friends and lose all our family's living expenses. Just as Arthur came home for money, she, fearing a beating, claimed I had stolen the money, threatening to abandon me if I didn't comply. She egged Arthur on to beat me half to death. I never dared to resist, always taking the blame. I never understood why someone could hate their own daughter so much. I pulled out my phone. She wanted to create a scene? Fine. Then I'll call the police. Let them find out who the arsonist is who was so engrossed in gambling they couldn't watch the house properly. Hearing the words, gambling, Eleanor's face paled with panic. Arthur's expression was even uglier. He paced the yard, looking for something in his hand. Quick as a flash, I slipped the stiffest broom into his hand. In front of everyone, he pulled Eleanor up, grabbed the broom, and beat her mercilessly. The quarrel in the yard hadn't ended when a blood-curdling scream echoed from Luca's and Flora's room. First, Flora emerged, face contorted in terror and pain, clutching one ear as she stumbled out. Then, Luca's burst out, roaring, his ear blackened by the explosion, dark red blood gushing out incessantly. "What happened to you children?" Arthur and Eleanor, no longer concerned with the chaos in the yard, rushed over. Timmy, still holding the firecracker, watched his parents' agony, clapping his hands and laughing loudly. So fun, Mom and Dad are having such fun." Even the village idiot would have understood what had happened. Seeing this, Lucas kicked Timmy in the backside. It was a powerful kick, sending the boy sprawling on the ground, wailing. The hypocrite, so he did know his child had done wrong. In my previous life, when I had run out clutching my ear, Timmy had clapped even more excitedly. Lucas and Flora hadn't scolded him for his thoughtlessness. Instead, they praised their son for his cleverness, for knowing how to play. Flora was now drenched in sweat from the pain, tears streaming down her face in fear. "Mom, Dad, my ear is almost gone. Please take us to the hospital." Eleanor and Arthur seemed to snap awake, helping them both up. "Quick, get in the car." Our home was in a remote mountainous area with almost no close neighbors, let alone a small clinic. "What are you standing there for, Lyra? Drive your car here and take your brother and sister-in-law to the hospital." I shrugged. "Are you two getting senile in your old age? Didn't your darling grandson ruin my car with a firecracker yesterday? It's completely undrivable now." Flora, in agony, stamped her foot. "It was just a little scratch on the paint, wasn't it? How can it be undrivable? Dad, this wretched girl wants to kill us both. Beat her to death, take the car keys." Seeing this, Arthur grabbed the broom again and began to lash at me, intending to snatch the car keys from my hand. I picked up a stone nearby, feigning that I was about to smash the keys. "Touch me once more, and I'll let them both die in pain right here today." Arthur, who had never seen such defiance from me, the one who always endured silently, was taken aback by my hardened attitude and dared not approach further. In my previous life, when they learned I had bought a new car, my parents, for the first time, acted unusually, calling me home for a reunion tete. It turned out Lucas and Flora had set their sights on my car. Arthur and Alina subtly hinted, then outright demanded, that I gift the car to them. I feigned ignorance, showing no reaction. Flora then instigated Timmy to use a string of firecrackers to blow up my car. "Who needs your rotten car anyway?" She'd sneered, her neck veins bulging as she cursed. "The money you earn is dirty, I wouldn't even sit in it." Later, after my ear was blown out, I begged them to take me to the hospital. They seized the opportunity to trick me into giving them my car keys. Once they had them, their expressions changed. "Your injury is minor," they said. "No need to go to the hospital." My left ear could have been saved, but they ignored me, letting me suffer in agony all night. Yesterday, hadn't Flora cursed my money as dirty, my car as dirty, swearing she would never ride in it her entire life? Now, blood streamed down both their faces from their ears. Arthur and Alina paced like ants on a hot griddle. Alina happened to glance at a neighbor's car. Having offended all the surrounding neighbors, she now knew she was in the wrong, hesitantly opening her mouth. "Auntie, your car." The kind neighbor, whom Alina had just accused of arson, was already seething inside and turned away, refusing to look at her. Lucas and Flora were crying out in pain. "Lyra, what exactly do you want?" I fiddled with the stone in my hand, a smirk playing on my lips. With one hand, I pointed at Lucas and Flora. "To beg for help, you must have the attitude of a beggar. Both of you kneel down and beg me." The moment I made my demand, Alina exploded. "You unfilial wretch. You heartless monster. Who do you think you are to make your brother and sister-in-law kneel before you? Are you trying to force your brother and sister to their deaths or your own parents? Fine, fine, I'll die for you to see," she said, then feigned lunging her head into a wooden pillar. I quickly called her back. She seemed a little smug, thinking she had found my weakness. "That old wooden pillar has been there for ages. It won't kill you if you hit your head on it." Then I pointed to the stone wall next to us. "This is more effective. If you keep causing trouble, your son and daughter-in-law will die in agony and they'll have company below." Lucas and Flora were now like ants on a hot griddle, writhing in pain, no longer caring about kneeling or not. Only Alina remained defiant, her bravado coming from who knew where. "Don't you dare kneel before this wretched girl." I said nothing, gazing at her with a cold stare. From childhood to adulthood, she had always used the most venomous words to curse me. I let out a cold laugh, then shouted to Lucas and Flora, "You see? It's not that I won't save you, it's our mother who wants you both to die in pain." Alina, hearing this, became even more agitated, lunging to scratch my face. Arthur, who had been silent until now, finally understood the situation. He landed a powerful kick to her lower abdomen, sending her flying. "You damn shrew, shut up. Say one more word and I'll kick you to death." He frowned, his eyes full of anger as he looked at me, seemingly a silent threat, but I didn't flinch. A moment later, he dragged Lucas and Flora back, forcing them to kneel before me. Lucas, as he knelt, mumbled curses. "Just wait until my ears heal, you'll be the first one I deal with." Arthur ordered him to shut up. Among those present, only Lucas and I had driver's licenses. He was in no condition to drive, leaving only me as the option. It was the Lunar New Year, and there weren't many doctors on duty at the hospital. The moment I parked the car upstairs, I heard Flora's voice. She was moaning in pain, whining. "He only hurt one of his ears. I swear Lyra has become so malicious ever since she went out into the world these past few years. Timmy is such a good boy. It must have been that wretched girl who enticed him to put the firecracker there. It's all your fault, Mom. You insisted on calling this bad luck charm home for Tet. Husband, Mom, Dad, I'm only kneeling before her this time for the sake of the Lai family." Lucas, both his ears ringing from the blast, one bleeding, the other seething with indignation, muttered, "How dare she make me kneel before her? Just wait until my ears heal. I'll deal with her properly when we get home." Alina, heart-wrenching, gripped his hand. "This wretched girl deserves to die. I told you, raising a bastard child means nothing." "Calm down, my dears, she's still useful. She's been working for years, she must have saved a lot of money. Once we've squeezed every last penny out of her, we'll talk to Brutus at the end of the village. Who knows, we might even get a good price for her. Calling her home for Tet was always about tricking her out of her car and money, wasn't it? Who knew she'd been out in the world for so long, running wild, and wouldn't be so easy to deal with? She even played a trick on us." Alina continued to grumble curses. Arthur, however, remained calm, puffing on his pipe. "She can only cause a small ripple like this. She won't sink the ship. Say no more. She still needs to pay for this medical treatment." After they finished speaking, I walked in, wearing a troubled expression. Alina saw me and asked with a cold face, "Have you paid for everything?" I rubbed my hands together. "They require hospitalization. I don't have enough money. I can only pay for one person. What? Lyra, are you trying to trick us, old man? I ignored Lucas's outburst, maintaining my troubled expression as I continued. Facing these 4 people, 2 utterly illiterate, 2 who had barely finished kindergarten, I quickly terrified them. The doctor said your and Flora's ear injuries are very serious. If left untreated, you could suffer permanent deafness. I had to bite the bullet and barely scrape enough money together for one person. Hearing permanent deafness, Arthur and Alina exchanged a glance, then shoved Lucas forward. Your brother is more seriously injured. Let him get treated first. Flora, hearing this, refused to comply. She rolled on the ground, clinging tightly to Lucas's leg, beginning to throw a tantrum. I've done so much for your life, family. I bore you a son to carry on your lineage. Are you even human? The 4 people who had been united moments ago now spontaneously split into 2 factions. Alina, Arthur, and Lucas on one side, Flora on the other. Seeing this, I couldn't help but add fuel to the fire. Flora, don't be so unreasonable. Lucas is the pillar of the household. Besides, you can only hear out of one ear, but don't you still have the other? One ear is enough. Why waste money unnecessarily? After I said this, Arthur and Alina, for the first time, joined in scolding Flora for being unreasonable. The very words she had used against me in my past life, I returned to her verbatim. Flora lost control, suddenly grabbing Timmy and running towards the hospital window. Lucas, also tense, quickly followed. I still remember how, in my past life, overwhelmed by pain, I had knelt and begged them. Even Arthur and Alina had shown a flicker of compassion, but Flora had adamantly blocked it. What's the big deal about being deaf in one ear? I think she's just pretending to want to go to the hospital to waste money. In this life, she truly became the one sacrificed, reacting even more violently than I had. If you don't treat my ears, I'll make sure the Lai family has no heir. Flora, don't be so emotional. Isn't there another way? Timmy, terrified, burst into tears, making Arthur and Alina incredibly distressed. All 3 were in a difficult situation. Seeing Lucas's clueless expression, I couldn't resist reminding him. I only said my money is enough to treat one person, but didn't you just earn some money from cutting trees in the mountains? That should be enough to treat Flora's ears. Lucas suddenly brightened, shouting excitedly at Flora, Flora, I'll treat you. There's a way to treat you now. Flora wiped her tears, her voice still a little doubtful. Really? Lucas nodded frantically. Why would I lie to you? Flora slowly moved back, her expression softening. Lucas came closer. Flora, have you forgotten the money I earned in the mountains? And the money you said you gave to Mom and Dad to hold on to? If you take that out, it'll be just enough to treat your ears. Lucas looked at Flora expectantly, but her face grew increasingly grim. Hurry and take it out. Then you'll have money to treat your ears? Flora clutched the corner of her shirt, her voice barely a whisper. How can that money be touched? I'm not getting treated anymore. Lucas didn't understand why Flora suddenly capitulated. I clapped my thigh beside them. Flora, I heard your family just built a new 2-story house for your younger brother's wedding a few days ago. Could it be that you took your brother-in-law's and your parents-in-law's hard-earned money to compensate your own family? That's the money your brother earned chopping trees day and night in the mountains? My slight hint was enough. Flora bit her lip tightly, her face guilty, not daring to look at Lucas, yet glaring at me with fiery eyes. Lucas now understood everything. Now it was the turn of the 3 people beside me to explode. It must be said that money was still the most important thing. Normally, when money wasn't involved, the 3 of them were quite amenable to Flora, only hoping she would have more children. Alina jumped up, yelling, For years, our Lai family's money has been siphoned off to her family. Why did we marry such a spendthrift daughter-in-law? We have a thief in this house. Arthur's face was cold. Son, your wife needs to be taught a lesson. Lucas, infuriated, furiously pinched Flora's cheek, demanding, Did you really give all our family's money to your own family? Then a slap landed across Flora's face. He didn't care if they were in a hospital or anywhere else. He grew increasingly furious, beating Flora to the ground and straddling her. Timmy, terrified, shrieked, constantly trying to pull them apart. Alina pulled Timmy back, hugging him. You fool, why do you care about her? She took all the money your father earned for you and gave it to outsiders. She kept urging Lucas to hit her harder to teach her a lesson. No matter how much Flora begged, he wouldn't stop. Only when the medical staff yelled at them did Lucas get off Flora. After a struggle, Lucas's ear was torn further, blood gushing even more. Oh, go treat your ear quickly, Lucas spat at Flora. When we get home, you'd better get all that money back from your family, or I'll smash your parents' two-story house so your brother can never get married." Then he mumbled curses, clutched his ear, and walked away, leaving Flora lying paralyzed on the ground. She looked at me with resentful, venomous eyes. "Lyra, you did this on purpose." I scratched my face. "Yes, I did." She lunged at me. "I'll tear your mouth apart." I grabbed her arm. "Be careful, Flora, don't let your other ear go deaf too." During Lucas's hospital stay, Flora was always humble and submissive, serving him. Nevertheless, as long as she hadn't gotten the money back, Lucas and Arthur and Alina never stopped scolding her. Lucas always found excuses to pick fights, beating and scolding her at the slightest provocation. Flora's ear got progressively worse, but she didn't argue back. However, occasionally I would see her secretly making calls in the hospital hallway. The other end of the line was her family. "Mom, can you tell Brutus's family to increase it to 80,000? My in-laws already know about the money I brought home last time. If you don't help me, they'll come to our house and cause trouble." What about my brother's wedding house then? Until one day, she happily ran back to the patient room, saying something to the three of them. Their gloomy faces suddenly brightened. Not only that, Lucas even started demanding an early discharge, saying he wanted to go home for Tet. I saw it all, knowing that a transaction revolving around me had finally been sealed at a price of 80,000 yuan. The person who destroyed me in my past life was coming. At Lucas's fervent insistence, they were discharged and returned home soon after. The attitude of all four of them towards me began to soften. "It's all thanks to our daughter here," Alina told Lucas. "You need to thank her properly." Even Flora began to link arms with me, feigning intimacy. "My dear sister, I was wrong before. I apologize. From now on, I will definitely treat you well." Later, our whole family will have a happy reunion meal. I smiled at her, but a wave of nausea rose in my stomach. As the car entered the village, I spotted someone secretly following us, a hunched figure with a lecherous face, stirring up the most painful memories of my past life. In this life, they still wouldn't let me go. Upon arriving home, Lucas, Flora, Arthur, and Alina, claiming they wanted to thank me, bustled into the kitchen. I went to my room, rearranging all the valuables I had brought back. Timmy stood by, watching me work. I took out a whole bag of candy from my pocket and pressed it into his hand. "Good boy, Timmy. Let's play hide-and-seek, okay?" The bag of candy still held great allure for him. He nodded. I carried him upstairs, carefully hiding him amidst a pile of miscellaneous items. "As long as your parents and grandparents don't find you, I'll buy you even more candy." He nodded, his small eyes gleaming. Once everything was arranged, I quietly went downstairs and burst into the kitchen. "It's bad, Timmy is missing." Alina was the first to rush over, clutching my sleeve, instinctively ready to scold. "How could you watch him?" Before she could speak, Arthur's gaze stopped her and her grip on me loosened. I feigned a worried expression. "I thought he was playing in the yard. I was only distracted for a moment and he ran off somewhere." The four of them frantically rushed to the door. A neighbor ran over, panting. "Lie, family, I just saw your little grandson run straight up the mountain. Hurry and go look for him." Arthur frowned. The night was pitch black, the mountain had many small animals, and the terrain was treacherous. I took Arthur, Alina, and Lucas's hands. "Timmy is so small, it's very dangerous. Before he goes too far, let's split up and search. We still have Flora and me here at home." Arthur and Alina looked at Flora, both worried and suspicious, as if something was holding them back. Flora was also anxious. "Mom, Dad, husband, you all go, I'm here at home." And so they rushed up the mountain. Flora and I sat in the yard. She kept glancing at the door, then at her watch. Not long after, she brought 2 glasses of water from the kitchen. "Sister, have some water." I looked at the water she had carefully prepared and drank it all in one gulp. She looked at me with satisfaction. "Aren't you going to drink some, Flora?" I suddenly looked up and asked. She started, a guilty person's reaction. She picked up her glass and took a few sips. Not long after, she began to feel dizzy, swaying. It was the same glass of water as in my past life, only this time it was her. "Flora," I helped her into my room and whistled once. Not far away, a man with a lecherous face who had been lurking walked in. Seeing that face, I felt nothing but disgust. In my past life, Flora had contacted her family, finding a buyer from another place. Arthur and Alina had sold me for 50,000 yuan. The whole family had personally sold me to the lecherous man before me. That day, Arthur, Alina, Lucas, and Flora had suddenly treated me well, saying that for years they hadn't shared a proper reunion Tet meal with me and felt guilty. I was still caught up in that false affection, long deprived of it when drugged wine was served, and I was pushed into a fiery pit by the very people I called family. I struggled, resisted, bit hard into his arm, but I only heard Alina counting money beside me. She not only ignored my pleas for help, but even happily instructed the man, "This girl has hard bones. Just beat her a few times and she'll break. Best to hit her hard." Flora chimed in beside her. "That's right, hit where it's soft. The heart hurts the most." I had once thought they treated me badly only because they favored sons over daughters, but blood ties at the very least shouldn't lead to that. But I was too naive. That man, under the instruction of Alina and Flora, hit me harder each time. My clothes were torn, and they just watched as if it were a game. Finally, in despair, I closed my eyes and surrendered, only to wake up again. The man in front of me looked at me lecherously. "You're Flora, right?" He mistook me for my sister-in-law. I suppressed my disgust and nodded. "The one in the room," I pointed the way. Brutus immediately rushed in. Hearing the commotion in the room, I didn't stop. I took my car keys, grabbed the things I had prepared, and drove off. Passing by the neighbor's house, I shoved a thick wad of money into her hand. "Auntie, now go up the mountain to find my brother and just say the house was robbed." The neighbor took the money, happily patted my hand. "Don't worry, child, just go. Leave it to me." I watched the neighbor. From childhood, whenever Alina beat me or locked me out without food, the kind neighbor couldn't bear it and always secretly gave me food. Later, when Alina caught her, she came to the neighbor's door, banging and cursing. That was one of the reasons they hadn't gotten along for years. I smiled, started the car, and drove away at top speed, leaving the village. It all felt like a dream. In my past life, I was still struggling in pain, still suffering from being sold out by my family. In this life, facing the cold wind outside the car window, I was much calmer. I had escaped the tiger's den and the wolf's mouth. On the eve of the Lunar New Year, I prepared a lavish meal for myself, fireworks blooming in the sky. The new year was my rebirth. In my past life, to pursue that false family affection, I lived in torment every year, sacrificing my own happiness. My phone was almost burnt out from Alina's calls. I didn't answer a single one. She then sent me hateful text messages. The words were disgusting, unreadable. I simply pretended not to see them. Then their tone softened. "Your brother accidentally killed someone. Lyra, we raised you to be this big. You left home on New Year's Eve. We don't blame you. But your brother is the root of the Lie family. He can't go to jail. Why don't you go instead? When you get out, your parents will definitely make it up to you." I almost burst out laughing. This family truly had no shame. But that also answered many of my questions. I had always been curious about what exactly happened the day I left. My brother killed someone. I called the neighbor. "Hello, dear, something big has happened at your house." The neighbor, hearing my voice, recounted everything without stopping. It turned out that the day Lucas returned home, he found Brutus embracing Flora on the bed. Lucas, being simple-minded and prone to violence, was enraged. He dragged Brutus out and beat him. No one could stop him. Flora woke up, saw the scene, and cried hysterically, threatening to kill herself. Lucas, even angrier, beat Brutus to death. Once they calmed down, the whole family realized they had committed murder. They originally planned to secretly bury Brutus, but Brutus was from out of town, and his friends, noticing his prolonged absence, came looking for him and discovered the body. So they called the police. Lucas was arrested. Arthur, unwilling to watch his son be taken away, fiercely attacked the police and was also arrested. Flora, agitated, became mentally unstable and was taken back by her own family. "Lyra, it's a good thing you left. Your mother now screams every day, saying if she finds you, she will definitely beat you to death." The neighbor sighed. I sneered. "I must say I was truly unlucky to have met this family." The neighbor hesitated. I pressed her, bringing up an old story. My phone was quiet for a few days. I thought she had settled down. To my surprise, I scrolled past Alina on a short video platform. She dragged Timmy along, kneeling on the ground, her eyes swollen from crying. Unfilial daughter Lyra abandoned her old mother. On New Year's Eve, she took all the family's money and went off to enjoy herself, leaving us, two frail old mother and child, without even a piece of meat for the new year. "Daughter, I don't blame you. I just want to have one reunion meal with you." A portrait of me was plastered on one side of the screen, looking very pathetic, causing a huge reaction. Many people commented, cursing me as heartless and a wide-eyed wolf. My picture was shared countless times, and the media also came looking. I found it utterly ridiculous. All the money I took from the house was my own. Initially, I just regarded it as a joke, but to my surprise, the next day, they brought a crowd and found my residence. I closed the door, refusing to come out. Elena, in front of the camera, cried, knocked on the door, and knelt down. "Daughter, your mother is kneeling before you. In the past, I was harsh with you because I wanted what was best for you. You can't just ignore your mother because of that." No matter what she said, I wouldn't open the door. Afterward, more and more people started attacking me. The area in front of my house was as crowded as a market every day, with rotten vegetables, rotten eggs, and wreaths thrown. Elena, by selling her misery, received a lot of charity money. She no longer insisted on meeting me but was increasingly reluctant to leave my doorstep, showing up almost every day to check in. Inside, I scrolled through my phone, bored, my mind racing. I was waiting for a piece of news. In front of my house, another group of reporters arrived, but this time they weren't brought by Elena. Tears welled in their eyes as they surrounded an elderly woman crying inconsolably, her eyebrows gentle. For the first time, I opened the door. Elena thought I had compromised, snarling and lunging to hit and scold me. "You unfilial wretch, you heartless monster." The people around pointed at me. "Abusing an elderly mother, you beast." Ignoring these sounds, I looked towards the old woman who was being helped forward. With just one look, I confirmed she was my mother. I ran to her quickly, embracing her tightly. "Yanyan, my Yanyan, mother has finally found you." The wealthy woman before me emotionally hugged me tight. Blood ties, a warm feeling spread through me. From that day on, the neighbor spoke hesitantly. I asked her again and again before she finally told me. I wasn't Elena's biological daughter. Elena, in her youth, had engaged in illicit activities, frequently trafficking children from other places into the deep mountains. The day Elena brought me home, several buyers, hearing I was a girl, didn't want me. She originally intended to abandon me in the mountains to fend for myself, but someone advised her that girls weren't worth much when young, but would be valuable when they grew up. Elena reluctantly kept me, so that was it. In my previous life, until my death, I never understood why a mother could be so cruel to her own daughter. It turned out that she had treated me badly from a young age, beaten and cursed me as a loss-maker, all because I was just a child she had kidnapped. It turned out that their desire to sell me wasn't entirely due to Flora's instigation. It was all a pre-existing consensus. Elena's crimes were enormous. She had ruined my life and the lives of other kidnapped children. The reporters formed a circle. My true parents, brother and sister, cried inconsolably. Elena, with her unscrupulous media followers and attackers, crowded around. Just then, the police officers arrived. "Lyra, you wretched girl, don't you see your mother here?" I was crying so hard my head was spinning, I almost forgot about her. Elena grabbed my arm, I grabbed hers back. Some of the attackers, realizing the situation, quietly slipped away. There were still brainless ones, unaware of the situation, criticizing me. "How could you hit your mother like that?" I didn't retort. I told the police, "This is the human trafficker who kidnapped me that year." Hearing this, the whole scene erupted in a commotion. Elena, terrified, tried to run, but I held her tight. She bit and scratched me. My biological brother, unable to watch, pulled her away forcefully. The police surrounded her. She had nowhere to run. She sat on the ground, throwing a tantrum, scratching and clawing at the police. Her actions only further exposed her true nature. Those who had thrown rotten eggs with her now realized they had been fooled. In addition, there were parents around searching for their children, hating the traffickers to the bone. They threw all the remaining rotten eggs and wilted vegetables at her. Elena was pelted miserably, trembling all over. The scene was chaotic. She never expected people's hatred for human traffickers to be so immense. Some even shouted, "Beat her to death," terrifying her so much she wet herself. Finally, she was handcuffed and taken away by the police. Elena was arrested. The children she had kidnapped that year gradually found their families. Her husband, Arthur, had just been released from prison for assaulting police. Unexpectedly, Elena gave him a big surprise. Now he was arrested again for being an accomplice in human trafficking. All 3 members of their family coincidentally gathered in prison to celebrate Tet. The neighbor said Flora's mental state worsened, and she didn't even recognize her own son. All those things no longer concerned me. Now I was in warm embrace. My biological parents were elegant and polite, their eyes full of love for me. My siblings cared for and cherished me immensely, a warm and happy family. This happiness was what I had yearned for since childhood. Fortunately, though 20 years late, I still found my family, and the wicked finally received their punishment.